Talking about learning experiences, a lot of people tuning in are young professionals trying to build an interesting shipping career. And I mean, you've given many stories that have so many different lessons, but what do you say to a young professional in shipping setting out, want to create their own company, maybe in the future, but all the necessary steps? And do you have any principles or reflections you can share that has guided you and been important?
I think there's many things to pick up, but also you have to, person A, person B are also different. So it's hard to give the same advice to everyone. But there's some things, I think one, you have to be curious and keen to learn, right? But I think that will go for most industries. And you need to build relationships with people, because shipping to a large extent is still a people's business. And you can still do handshake deals in this business. And although it has to be maybe documented, but later. But there's a lot of characters, and maybe some of the people you meet when you're young, they will also become big decision makers later on in life, and it will enable you to do exciting stuff together. So building relationships is important. I think another area which I was not sufficiently tuned into when I was young, but I sort of quickly had to, was to try to stay tuned in sort of geopolitics in a way, because it's such an truly international business. So you need to read, I have kids, right? And my son is now soon to be 32, is in shipping. But for both my kids, I said, you need to subscribe to Financial Times. And I'm not getting paid to promote Financial Times, but I think it's a very good newspaper, and it's relatively neutral, and it covers the entire globe. And it talks about, politics and industry and stuff, everywhere. And it's very, has some of the best journalists on the planet works for this newspaper. So to read that on a daily basis, if you're going to spend money on something, if you go to a coffee shop and buy you a fancy cappuccino, twice a day in a whole year, I think that costs you more money than to subscribe to Financial Times. So that's great, I think, brain food early on, and get tuned into this. You don't need to read everything, but it's a way just to, be alert on how things are sometimes connected. And if you want to be in shipping, you will many times meet and be in need to really try to understand things. What does an election in this country might mean? What does this industry either doing well or doing poorly in this country mean? And what did 20 years ago? What did the boom of China? What is going to mean? Stuff like that. So it's going to be a very important tool, I think, in trying to have success in shipping. And I think also you will probably be a more interesting conversation partner with people you do business with, because you are a little bit involved in this and read a bit. So you cannot read everything, but I think it's a great way to start. So
to build on top on that, how about becoming sort of a global citizen? You have lived in different cities. I know you have been in several cities. How important is that as well? It ties into networking, of course, but also it's not necessarily the Norwegian perspective that is the correct answer in all topics around the world.
That's a good point, actually. So I think that there's basically only positives coming out of that. You learn to work and live in another culture, another country. I was part of my career, I was in Singapore. It's a lot of expats and stuff like that, but it is still in Asia. It's still a lot of other things that are very different to living in Europe. So I think that's if those opportunities come about, especially at a young age, grab them. Go and take the opportunity. Don't be scared. Also, when you're young, maybe you don't have all the commitments. I had a young family, so my wife and 2 kids tagged along, which was great. We had it was also very fun. It wasn't a great adventure as a family. But whether you are a young family, or whether you are single or alone, I think if you're given the opportunity to go out to work, abroad for 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, whatever, and maybe do more than one place, it's a great experience in general for life. So that I would not have missed it.
You touched upon Financial Times. We usually ask our guests for favorite books, or is the Financial Times the only thing you have to read?
No. You know, I can choose many things, but I think it's just a great start to try to, you know, have a good perspective on things. It's a paper, as I mentioned, that cover many things better than most other sort of newspapers. And there are many fun books. You know, in my business, I think to get a grip on what the oil energy markets is about, I would read the books of Daniel Jürgen. So he has a handful of books, maybe a bit more now. So the first one, I guess, is The Price, and then the most recent one is The New Map. And this talks about energy politics and history and where oil is and, you know, why stuff is like it is. And he's a very competent writer, very knowledgeable. And so I think that's a great read. Might be a bit of a heavy read if this is your first read into the space, but if you've been in the business for a few years, you know, this I would recommend. But if you want to have a sort of a bit maybe easier read and maybe even more entertaining read, you should read the book called The World is for Sale. It's written by two financial journalists. It's about the commodity trading industry. And, you know, the big names like Vitol, Glencore, Trafigura, Mercuria, you know, all these companies, and goes through their businesses of the, you know, last number of decades and histories and how they've been involved in helping countries. And this is, you know, very entertaining read. It's not a heavy read, but it's a good read. It will give you a little sense of also some of the stuff that goes on in our industry, but also how fun it can be and interesting it can be. So.
Great recommendations. So just one more quick question. Who has been sort of, you know, some of the most impressive shipping companies, peers, recent years?
You know, it's hard. Well, it's not hard maybe to pick some companies, but it can be unfair of the companies that I don't pick. So I don't mean to exclude people, but I think there's some people I've been watching, you know, either, you know, over time or recently that, you know, impressed me. You know, I used to work for the BW Group many years ago, or started with their predecessor, Worldwide Shipping. Andreas Sohmen-Pao, who's now sort of the, you know, is the chairman of the group and the owner. He's the third generation. He's a very impressive gentleman, right? Very, very smart. He's, you know, he's very tuned into many things. He has significant capacity to follow many things at the same time. So I think he's also very rational, and he has built some successful companies, you know, through the portfolios in his group. So the shipping portfolio that he sort of took over some 20 plus years ago, 25 maybe, was much smaller than what it is today. So it's a significant track record. So very impressive gentleman. I think another company that has impressed me is the Angelicoussis group, the Greek family, which I guess must be the biggest Greek ship owner now. It's currently run by Maria Angelicoussis, whom I don't know, but I just know from sort of afar from the outside. So she, you know, took over the business under, you know, unfortunate circumstances. Her father passed away some years ago at, you know, I think too young age. She, I don't know exactly, but she must be in her, in her 40s maybe somewhere. But the way she's sort of taken up also as a woman, you know, which is not so easy in shipping, I think, taking charge of the family business, you know, in which she worked for many years, but taking it to the next step and moving on and continuing to develop the business, I think is very impressive. So I know people who know her. I have an acquaintance who work for her. So, but just looking on that on the outside is very impressive. So.